Okay, I want you to picture this. It's early in the year 1880. Outside, the Kansas winter is just biting. It's freezing cold. But inside, there's a warm fire crackling in the hearth. And sitting right beside that fire is a 64-year-old man. His body is totally worn down from literally decades of grueling farm labor, and he knows, deep down, that his time on this earth is drawing to a close. This man is Samuel Vaux, and he desperately wants to pass on the story of his life, his family, and his journey before those memories just fade away completely. So, welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to explore the deeply personal, incredibly moving life memoir of Samuel Vaux. We'll trace his path from a crowded little English village all the way to the sweeping plains of America, and we'll pull directly from his own words to understand the sheer grit it took to carve out a life in the 19th century. Right off the bat, Samuel's opening words set the entire tone for his memoir. He writes, "Come, children, sit close by this fire and let me tell you a story. Not from a book, mind you, but from this old life of mine." Just listen to the intimacy in that. Samuel isn't sitting down to write some sterile historical document for a bunch of scholars. Not at all. He's a grandfather, gathering his descendants close to share the raw, unfiltered reality of his American dream. He wanted his grandchildren to know exactly where they came from and the massive journey their family undertook just so they could sit safely by that very fire. And that brings us to the core question we're exploring today. What does it actually take to build a legacy from absolutely nothing? Okay, let's dive into this. Because Samuel's story, it isn't just a list of dates and places. It is a masterclass in resilience, risk, and that profound human desire for ownership and independence. It's the story of a man who crossed an entire ocean with little more than the clothes on his back, fueled by nothing but youth, hope, and an extraordinary willingness to work hard. To truly grasp the scale of Samuel's life, we have to map out his physical pioneer journey. So he emigrates to New York in 1832. Then he pushes westward to Wisconsin in 1853. He heads down to Missouri in 1869, and finally he settles in Kansas in 1880. Look at that trajectory. His personal timeline perfectly, almost uncannily, mirrors the larger historical arc of America's westward expansion. Samuel was constantly chasing the frontier, constantly moving toward the promise of richer soil and better opportunities as the nation itself was finding its shape. Section 1. Leaving England Behind. So Samuel was born on January 14, 1816. He was born into this large, really lively farming family in the rolling hills of Somerset, England. The son of James Vaux and Mary Palmer, he was actually the fourth of 9 surviving children, so you can imagine he was always right in the middle of the commotion in that small cottage. But why leave those beautiful green hills? Well, in 1830s England, the land was crowded and opportunities for a large farming family were incredibly thin. Ownership? That was a luxury reserved pretty much only for the wealthy. But America offered a radical proposition. Rich land was available, and any working man, regardless of his birth, could hold his own soil in his own hands. Driven by his father James's vision, they made the agonizing decision to leave in May of 1832. They had to say goodbye to generations of graves, their church, their whole village. Samuel even notes that his mother cried quietly all the way to Bristol, though she never let it slow her step. Section 2. Taking root in New York. That incredible leap of faith brought them across the Atlantic, and they took root in Erie County, New York, near the township of Aurora. It was here that Samuel really transitioned from a boy into a man of character. Around 1837, at the age of 21, he marries his lifelong partner, Mary Ann Underhill, a woman he beautifully described as having an American steadiness and warmth. And by 1845, he actually achieves the dream his family had crossed an ocean for. He paid exactly $795 for his very first farm, 53 acres in Aurora, bought from a man named Seth Sprague. Samuel's memoir captures the profound emotional weight of this moment so well. He talks about walking every single inch of those 53 acres the day he took ownership, physically pressing his boots into the soil. He realized it was his. He'd earned it by honest labor. In his own words, he felt as rich as any king in England that day. But Samuel wasn't one to just settle when opportunity came knocking. And this brilliantly illustrates his mindset. Just 8 years later, in 1853, he sold that exact same Aurora farm to a man named Robert Bartlett for $1,500. He had nearly doubled his investment. By working the land, improving it right alongside Mary Ann, and timing the growing American market perfectly, Samuel generated the capital he needed to fund their next great adventure. Section 3. Expanding west to Wisconsin. Seeing opportunity rapidly moving westward, the family packed up everything and expanded to the rich prairie soil of Burnett Township in Wisconsin. It was a calculated move to provide new, better opportunities for their growing family, particularly their daughters, who came of age learning the vital skills of managing a farm household from their mother. Wisconsin brought a lot of joy. Samuel watched his older daughters find good husbands and marry in the early 1860s. But, and this is a big but, these peaceful family milestones were heavily shadowed by the 4 terrible years of the American Civil War. Samuel noted that while they were farmers, not soldiers, the weight of the war pressed down on absolutely every family. They prayed for the Union, and they mourned for the young men in their community who marched off to fight and just never returned. It was a time of immense national trauma, and it reached right into their quiet prairie township. Section 4. Missouri and Heartbreak. Once the war ended, that pioneer spirit struck Samuel again. In August of 1869, he and Marianne made their final great push. They bought 40 acres of highly promising, rich farmland in Andrew County, Missouri for $2,000. And this move really cemented a triumphant upward economic mobility for them. Now, what's really interesting about this is the growth. In 1845, his real property was valued at $795. By the 1850 census, it was $1,166. And by 1870, after settling in Missouri, his real property had climbed to $3,500, alongside nearly $500 in personal property. It is literal proof of Samuel's reflection. Not bad for an English farm boy who crossed the ocean with little more than the clothes on his back. He had truly built something from nothing. But, as we all know, financial success cannot shield a family from tragedy. Just as they were reaching their peak prosperity, a deep abyss opened up beneath them. In August of 1876, their youngest boy, Amos, who was only 22 years old, was struck down by typhoid fever in Nottoway, Missouri. Samuel's writing here is just incredibly raw. He calls Amos a good boy, a hard worker, a son any father would be proud of. Burying his youngest child in Missouri soil forever changed him and Marianne. He actually confessed in his memoir that neither of them ever fully recovered from that agonizing grief. Section 5. A Pioneer's Final Legacy. So, worn down by relentless labor and the absolute devastation of losing Amos, Samuel sells his Missouri land in January of 1880. He and Marianne made one last journey to find a peaceful resolution, moving to Kansas to live with their daughter Abigail. Content finally put down his tools, he sat by the fire to prepare his final legacy, and it's a set of timeless instructions for his descendants. Listen to these. First, do not wait for fortune to find you. Go out and work hard for it yourself. Second, treat every single person with honesty and dignity. Third, fiercely protect your reputation. He called it the most valuable thing a person can possess. And finally, take care of each other, because family is your foundation, and sometimes family is all you have. He urged them to be worthy of both their brave English blood and their tough American pioneer blood. Samuel Vaux passed away on October 9, 1880, not long after writing this memoir. But before he left, he signed off with this truly beautiful thought. Go to your beds knowing that you are loved beyond all measure by the long line of Vaux men and women who crossed an ocean so that you could sleep safely in an American bed tonight. It's just an incredible reminder of the shoulders we all stand on, isn't it? As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this to ponder. When you go to sleep tonight, what immense sacrifices, what long lines of bravery and heartbreak are embedded in your own family's history, just so you can rest safely today?